Maximum News. I'm one of your hosts, Max Derrat, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin, rather.
And I'm Sybsidian of the Triple S League. But
And
you already knew that.
yes, the wonderful floating AI spaceship, one-day spaceship. I think we said on the last episode. And here on Maximum News, you can always trust us to provide you with trustworthy, interesting news. We wouldn't ever lie to you, unlike certain people, right, Syb?
Yeah, unlike a certain Poseidon
Of the ice variety,
not the of the ice variety, not the Greek gods variety, that swindled roughly around $500,000 from his fan base. Like, good job, man. Wow, you have no scruples whatsoever.
Did you see that interview that that one guy gave of him, where he's trying to illustrate to him what exactly he did? And he's like, you know what? I don't really like the way that you're painting that because it makes me look to be really bad. And then he's like, okay, well, why don't you give back the money? He's like, well, I'm just looking out for myself, and the fans can do their own. It's just, why did these people get famous, man? And why aren't ethical people like us?
Well, it's like there's another streamer who's offering a new product to help your skin by blocking blue light from hurting your skin. Of course, I'm not a dermatologist. I do not know those kinds of stuff, but I've never heard of anybody having skin damage from blue light. Now, obviously, blue light can hurt your eyes, and it can mess with your sleep cycle. But as far as I know, in like moderate degrees, which monitors are, they typically don't damage your skin. Again, consult your doctor about that. But yeah, it's just so strange that there's all these. We used to have a problem with this. Like, a guy would show up and he would sell us snake oil. Snake oil could cure baldness. It could remove demons. It could just all the stuff that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like, just all the stuff that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Alien invasion. That kind of stuff. Yeah, it's all it's all on the up and up, right?
Volcano insurance when you live in Canada. If you guys want something to blow your mind, go check out the IcePoseidon thing, and please just don't worry about blue light hurting your skin.
Don't attack these people because it makes them into a martyr. Keep everything as legal as you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, my goodness, this guy's full of himself.
Yeah.
Like on a level that's amazing. But
that's not.
We've got some news stories.
Yeah, we got some proper gaming news stories. We're not here to focus entirely on gossip, although we'll get to stuff like that. And it's not really gossip, but you know what I mean. But before we get into that, I just want to apologize very quickly. Normally, we have the show out on Saturday. We record on Friday, then on Saturday. I was out of the country until about a few hours ago. Just got back, and literally one of the first things that I'm doing is recording this podcast with Syb, so it could be up on Sunday. With that out of the way, Sony bought Bungie. So This is pretty interesting news. A lot of questions surrounding this. Let's just get to the basic details and then we'll get into the discussion. According to GamesIndustry.biz, Sony Interactive Entertainment, so SIE Sony, has purchased Bungie. Now, of course, if somehow you're not in the know, Bungie are the developers behind Destiny 1 and 2. And they are the former developers of Halo before they sold it back around the beginning of the 2010s. Sony has purchased Bungie for $3.6 billion with a B dollars. Now, the official wording for the deal says Bungie will apparently be an independent subsidiary of SIE. And what this means, at least in part, is that Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio, meaning they can publish on the Xbox as well. Let's see. Here are some of the specific words given by the CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, regarding the buyout. Quote, both Bungie and SIE believe that game worlds are only the beginning of what our IP, by our IP he means Destiny, of what our IP will become. Our original universes have immense potential, and with SIE support, we will propel Bungie into becoming a global multimedia entertainment company dedicated to delivering on our creative vision. Now, there's a couple questions that obviously come out of this. Question one, that a lot of people have, and that I would like to quickly just put to rest. Was this a response to Microsoft's buyout of Activision Blizzard King?
Yes.
No, no. I mean,
Yes.
well, it depends. Deals like this, like, was it in a, like, okay, let me put it to you this way. Was it like they found out in the news that Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard and then they just decided, like, next week, let's buy Bungie? No.
Yes.
Stuff like, really?
Yes. So
Okay.
you because you were out of the country, I don't think you heard the show that we did earlier in the week here. But I likened Bungie to a Hollywood starlet whose previous relationships included first, when she first got famous, she jumped into a relationship with Microsoft, and then that ended badly. And then after like vowing to stay single and work on herself, ended up in the arms of Activision Blizzard, and then had an abusive falling out there
Mm-hmm.
with just tons of like scandalous pictures hitting the web and other places, and then the creme de resistance. As soon as Bungie, or sorry, as soon as Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, get hitched, less than a week after she announces her whirlwind romance with Sony, and how now she is going to be in this committed, stable, long-term relationship. It is exactly the same course that a lot of these Hollywood starlets and guys too have in their relationships. That's kind of hilarious. Was it faster than what we were thinking? Yes. It's been we're going to start seeing a rapid buyout of all of the other companies that are out there right now. We're going to see a rapid buyout of nearly all of them over the next 12 months.
I have a hard time believing that, dude, because even though like $3.6 billion is like chump change to these companies, it's still billions of dollars. And I have to think that even if they heard about this, it wasn't because they heard about it in the press. They probably got word of it from like an underground source. And once they heard about it, they quickly made plans to provide a response to it soon after Microsoft bought it. Because I don't think that that's how these types of corporations work, unless you know something that I don't.
Well, it's not just me. You're fighting Mr. Jeff Keighley on this one too.
Okay.
Mr. Sellout Jeff Keighley has announced that if you think what you've seen in the last few weeks is crazy and insane, you haven't seen nothing yet. And over the next basically year, pretty much every major studio that has made any level of AAA game is going to be bought out and subdivided into one of the existing four giants of the industry. And that's basically how, well, technically five, I guess. And that's how that's going to go over the next couple of months. And I tend to agree, because mega corporations, I don't know if you noticed, but they're all the rage these days, and they're literally everywhere, and they've been growing in power almost exponentially. There will definitely come a point in which these giant companies merge into super giants, then to super giants that rival countries, and then this is the beginning of the corporate wars that will set up a dystopian future. Not hyperbole.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
hyperbole.
you're not far off. I just hope that if that's what's going to happen, at least at some point during all these corporate buyouts, that the people over at Sony buy Konami, or not Konami, but just some of their goddamn IPs. Because I just want another Metal Gear Solid, man. I don't care if Hideo Kojima's behind the helm. I mean, like, obviously, I care if he's like a creative consultant, which I imagine he would be, kind of like what happened with Metal Gear Rising. But just give me another one. There's still stuff you can do. Same with Silent Hill. Same with Castlevania. When the hell are you going to do that, Sony? Okay, and then there's the second question that I have regarding this deal. Because what is the incentive for Sony to buy Bungie if they are remaining multi-platform? I mean, aside
they have to. Well, they aren't going to. They're being forced to do this. If they allow Microsoft to continue to buy up studios, there will get to a point where it won't be this year, won't be next year, it'll probably be like year after that, where their release catalog is 5 games for the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And almost like not 5, maybe 7, and
Major one, yeah.
4 or 5 of which are being released by the is in internal studios. That's what it would be like. And if that happens, they're dead in the water, because it's not like they can release a whole bunch of indie games, because they just finished stabbing every indie company that had ever worked with them in the back, Red Wedding style. just like took everything that they had, in some cases locked them down. There are some contracts that they've locked these these small indie studios into, where it's like, we're no longer advertising your game. Your game will no longer appear on a purchase page, as a high sale item. You'll have to know what it is in order to find it already. Mm-hmm. We won't allow you to have it be suggested from one user to another. You won't be able to gift it as a purchase from one user to another. And we're charging you an additional fee. And your release schedule is going to be constantly pushed back at random by whoever happens to be in a foul mood the day of. And this will happen multiple times in a row. Mm-hmm. This is what it's like as an indie developer trying to make a small game in a series, in some cases where they've already launched 7, 8 of these titles on the PlayStation Network over the last 15, 20 years.
Right.
And that is how you will be treated going forward. End of story. Period.
Okay.
And until they change that, which I mean, they're not going to be able to change this readily, because the people that were there, that were handling these companies, are no longer there. They're no longer employed by Sony. Mm-hmm. Sony fired them. There's a whole bunch of Japanese, what do you call these, like interim people, where they mediate between the smaller developers and the primary studio. They all got fired, because if you couldn't speak English, there was no point in you having a good connection with a company that is now an American company. They didn't care about them. They cut them. Why would they want, the 10th iteration of some, game, some Sony title that in the past, which wasn't through Sony, but was through one of these independent companies that, was fairly culturally, relevant to just Japan, featured sandwich making between high school teen girls, and not graphic sandwich making, but light sandwich making between teen girls and octopuses. Why would they want to help or service these people at all when they can't even speak English, and they're not a multi-billion-dollar company that pumps out a major hit that's that's bought 10 million times? Why would they want to support or interact with these people at all? Mm-hmm. They're garbage, obviously, from their perspective, but not from mine, because I don't think anybody's, I think I think the level of garbage you have to do in your personal and public life has to be pretty bad before anybody can legitimately call you garbage. But yeah, these people looked with the studio, the Sony people looked at these smaller studios with absolute disdain. And then made sure that they ruined their existence, their job, their livelihood. Yeah. Why would these people come back for them? It's like why would they say, oh well, I guess they've changed, I guess we can come back? And it's no. Yeah. They don't care.
So this is just their form of doubling down, but also, I suppose, trying to diversify their content beyond just the single player experiences, mm-hmm. by trying to get in bed with the people that provide the live service games like Destiny, with the constant expansions and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was trying to wrap my head around that, because aside from the exclusive content that Destiny used to get because it was on Sony's platforms, I couldn't think about it either way. But yeah, the way that you explained that makes more sense. Okay, well, yeah, this seems to be what's going to be the ongoing trend, at least. That's what Jeff Keighley says. That's what you said. And yeah, it's not going to really go anywhere good in the long term. But in the short term, I still am pulling out hope that they do buy out Konami's IPs. That would make a very happy Simpson skin. All right, let's move on to the next big story. This one dropped right before I left for the US a few days ago. Halo. It's got a TV show coming out on Paramount Plus. I think that's the name of the streaming service. I mean, everybody who knows me knows how much of a Halo fan I am. I didn't really know what to make of the Halo TV series. Like, a live action project for Halo has been in the works since before Halo 3, back when they were trying to do the Halo movie. Remember, the guy behind District 9 was supposed to be directing it, and Peter Jackson, the guy who made the Lord of the Rings films, was going to be producing it? Yeah, remember what happened there? And with this TV show, I'm just like, look.
It was a shame. That was such a good, like, it was looking so good.
Yeah. It sounds like a wonderful conception. I mean, like, if it could have been as interesting as District 9
a bunch of high, like, just like these people that are just high on their own gaseous discharges, sitting there going, "Oh, I don't think a Halo show is going to be worth, or movie is going to be worth anything. I mean, who plays these video games? I thought they were all about the plumber and jumping through sewers. I'm pretty sure that's what all video games are about."
Never mind the fact that at the time that Halo was coming out, people were no longer going over to their buddy's house to play cards. They were going over to their buddy's house to play Halo for a period of time. That was when Halo 2 and Halo 3 came out. But anyways, TV show. Yeah, go ahead.
Did I ever tell you? So I've been in the same room with some very powerful people in the past. One of the high ups at a particular television station that has been embroiled in the absolute most hilarious and sad scandals over the last couple of weeks. One of their top board members was in a room, and I happened to be in the same room, and he went off on the internet and how they just need to shut it down because it's taking money away from them.
Oh.
And they just needed, this was many years ago, and he just went off on how it needs to be, it needs to be put in its place. All these nerds need to go back to the mines. And I'm just sitting here not saying a word, just smiling and nodding, because that's what you do when you encounter crazy people.
Right.
Met a crazy person a couple months ago. They went off on I've just absolute insane stuff, and you just smile and nod and go because these people are delusional, and delusional people tend to be dangerous on a certain level. Yeah. But yeah, that's that was the person who in not him directly, but people like him.
Okay,
those were the people who canceled the initial Halo movie by Peter Jackson.
Produced by, yeah, right, yeah. I think I know who you're talking about, by the way, but I don't want to say any more on that. But anyways, let's talk about the actual content of the trailer. What did I'll obviously get your thoughts on it in a second time, but what did I, as a lifelong Halo fan, think of the trailer? I think it looks aesthetically wonderful for the most part. It manages to merge the Halo aesthetic of the games with live action and not make it look hokey, which was my biggest concern, because I'm like, okay, even down to something as simple as the way the assault rifle or the battle rifle looks, are they going to be able to take that from the games and put it in a live action setting and not make it look completely out of place? They did. The Master Chief looks awesome. The Warthog looks awesome. The Pelicans look awesome. The only thing that does look hokey and weird to me, and this has sort of been the common consensus from everybody across the internet on this Halo trailer, is Cortana. Right? She looks weird. And I understand why they made her look the way that she looks, because it's easier to capture a live action actress rather than having to do all the CGI and trying to make her look like she does in the games. Still, I think there are things that you can do, like the lines of code running through her body, and maybe making her look more blue or purple. I think they could have done that, but yeah, it still looks very, very weird. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a rebuttal for that.
Sure.
My rebuttal is just Google Cortana cosplay, and you will discover that there are people who manage to do an amazing job with a budget of like maybe $100 or $2.
Huh.
And that I think the Hollywood version is the same thing they do with everything, is that they don't know or understand the basic concept of what is important to the viewer, to the fan, and they believe that they have the right to interpret it as they feel it's their job. And again, just going back to a somewhat famous situation, it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ben. No, it's not Ben. It's whatever his face was who did Batman, the Batman thing movie back in the day. The one that just absolutely flopped, was just an absolute nightmare.
Oh, Joel Schumacher.
And Joel Schumacher sat there and said, it's his vision, it's his choice on what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that these filthy, degenerate fans don't have the right to say anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because of the way they sort of changed Cortana to sort of not appeal to the male gaze and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, maybe, there's still some time. Maybe they'll change it, but I'm not holding out hope considering today's climate.
No, and again, the other thing that gets in this way, and you have to remember this, is that never underestimate a actor's pride in wanting to change a character so that their role or their look or their style becomes more important. I can't tell you how many shows have been ruined, absolutely ruined, by an actor who's like, I want them to see my face. Don't you understand? It's my face out there. I need to be recognized on the street. And it's their desire, their bloodthirst for fame that drives them to do just absolutely horrendous things with story and character and all this kind of stuff. And the writers have to like make way for this and do stuff for them for this sole purpose of making them so that they're happy, and again, it's just this is the nature of Hollywood. This is why it fails so badly. So yeah, I could go on for like literally an hour on stories, situations, and narratives that were destroyed by an actor's greed. Yeah. And their response was, I don't care. I want this, period.
I think
the story.
If I remember correctly, Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was originally going to be the Predator in the original Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he walked off the project when he realized that people weren't going to be able to see his face. I think I might have that right. Might have got one or two details wrong.
There's a bunch of stories like that.
Oh, sure.
A bunch of them.
Yeah, that's just the one that came to the top of my head. Let's see, what else? A couple of things. Some people say that the elites, like the big alien creatures that you see in the trailer, are too big, at least compared to Master Chief. But if we're going by like canonical measurements, the elites aren't actually too big. According to canon, Master Chief is 7 feet tall when he's in the armor, and the elites are 8'6". So it's about right. Maybe they could have, like, that might have been a good argument to say, well, maybe you need to make some sort of adaptation, but I don't know. I thought they looked okay. Master Chief looks awesome. I will say, like everybody else, though, it is really, really weird not having Steve Downes do the voice for him and instead have the actor in the suit do the voice. I'm not sure why he's not there. I've heard conflicted things, like maybe Steve Downes just is getting too old and he wouldn't be able to do the voice for a long-term TV project as compared to a game. Although I've also heard that he actually did want to do it, but that it was a situation like the one that you described, Side, that the actor was wanted to voice him, and actually there are rumors that he's going to show his face on the show, which would be whack, really, really whack. It sort of like reminds me of when Sylvester Stallone showed his face in Dredd, and how much of a disaster that was. Let's see, what else? For the average person, like I was able to understand what was going on in the trailer. Like, it seems like what they're going to be doing is this. They're going to be starting right from the very beginning of the Halo timeline. It's not going to be the events of Halo Reach or Halo 1. It's going to be before that, during the genesis of the Spartan program, and when they're being developed so that they can go against the colonial insurrectionists on the extraterrestrial planets. Also, of course, a large portion of it will have to deal with the Master Chief and his relationship with Cortana. But I'm also wondering, though, why, if that's the case, why do we see stuff like the Three Covenant Prophets, which didn't show up until like Halo 2? And also, why do we see what appears to be a helmetless Master Chief standing before them? I mean, it might not be him, but it doesn't really look like an elite to me. But anyways, that's just nitpicking. And then there's this human character working on behalf of the Covenant. I don't remember her in regards to Halo canon. I think she might be an addition to this new timeline, which is separate from the games, which I'm glad they're doing because it gives them more creative freedom. But I hope that it's not like what you said, Cy, where it's just like they completely misunderstand what Halo is truly about, and then they're just going to do their whole thing and just piss off everybody. I don't know.
You have to do new story iterations within an existing universe really, 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 really carefully. Either you can use it as a generalized inspiration, and that's what the book that I've been writing, the series that I've been writing, I'm closing in on finishing book 5 now. Book 1 will be ready for print sometime in the near future. We're working on a couple last drafts of that. Hit up the Discord and send me a PM if you're interested in finding out a little bit and maybe give me a hand with some feedback. We're definitely doing a feedback program right now. I do have mine based in a couple of video games. There's a couple major ones that help to inspire Mass Effect being the primary one. Another one from an indie friend of mine. Another one, we both had the same kind of like favor of a particular fantasy race. And so when, I approached him, I said, like, you have a great, generalized concept. I only want to use like 3 of your concepts though. And he says, yeah, go ahead. No problem. Mm-hmm. It's like, when you do that, you have to be really, really careful. You have to be really, really careful. And I don't think these guys are being careful with the lore, because they are stepping on stuff. They're saying, oh, it's our vision, but hey, we're at the same time that it's our vision, we're going to end up using at least like 50 to 60% of the old content from this before.
Yes.
And we're going to end it when we're going to use it out of sync and out of order. It's like, no, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to change a lot more than just reshuffling. You're taking the deck of cards that they use to tell the first story, and they give it like, they take out like maybe 10, 20 cards, throw them out, add in a new like 10, 20 cards, and then shuffle the thing again. It's like,
that's a good analogy.
It's like, and again, in my story aspect, I used the place, the setting, one of the concepts, and then a few of the characters. It's like a very small, like the book. I think I'm up to over like 200 some odd characters, and I think there's about 5 that were in the original work. So that's what I mean by, like, you have to be really careful, and you have to replace an absolute metric ton of it. Like, not just a small amount. You have to replace the vast majority of it. And, in this case, it's a bit of a homage. It's a homage to gaming in general, in my case. But in this case, it's not a homage to Master Chief. It's a taking of the generalized concept and trying to do what, Marvel and DC do with, like, multiverse slightly off dimensions. Mm-hmm. Right, where it's like, oh yeah, this is Earth 616, and then there's Earth 615 and Earth 617, and it's like they're really close to the same, but there's a couple, like 1 or 2 things that are slightly different,
right?
Or stuff like that. It's like that works for them, but they also have literally hundreds of artists who have been adding to that universe for decades upon decades upon decades. So it's different. You can't just pull this stuff out of your butt and try the same thing here. It's just not going to work. And I think the show is going to flop because they're not focusing in on Master Chief, not the same Master Chief we know. They're focusing in on a different Master Chief. What they should have done is they should have gotten the same voice actor for Master Chief and never had him take his helmet off.
Yes, well,
it works for Mandalorian. So it most likely would have worked here. And you know what else it worked for? Vision in the MCU.
Yeah,
I mean, it worked. It worked for him, and this was in a previous story. This is a good example, right? Where it's like this guy stuck with the story, stuck with the thing, stuck with the overall goal, stuck with everything that made it good, and then he didn't make a fuss until it was his time to shine, and he's now remembered fondly by everybody who likes that role in that character. It's like, yeah, you got to do that. You can't just screw around with stuff that people love and throw things out by the wayside. It's not going to work. Sorry, and that was this story, not the other one. I was going to bring that up earlier, but yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Halo, like, there is good reason to believe that maybe things are going to go in the wrong direction, but I'm still going to give it a shot because in some respects, it does seem like they're giving it proper TLC. Like, to repeat what I just said, the aesthetics look great, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good story. And for all the reasons Syb laid out, we should be suspicious, but still going to give it a shot when it comes out. Let's move on to the next story. Syb, what are the Saudis doing?
So the Saudis have this thing called the PIF. I believe it's called the PIF. It is the Public Investment Fund. So they're taking a bunch of money that is technically owned by their state. So it is supposed to be representative of the public's money, the public fund. We used to have a fund like that where I lived, and then a bunch of politicians got their hands on it and destroyed it, and literally like they emptied it out. And I think it was like, it took like 10 years for us to save up that money, and a bunch of dumbass politicians spent it all in about, I think it was like 18 months. It's like 15 years of saving up money, of scrimping and shutting things down and closing things early and just not handing out stuff so that we would have a fund, there for a rainy day. It wasn't even a rainy day. They just blew through it because they wanted to. And then an actual rainy day came and they're like, oh, I guess we got to borrow a bunch of money to fix the problem. Mm-hmm. It's like, so
inflate the currency.
Kudos on them for having a public investment fund. Not kudos on them for obviously their human rights abuses.
Yeah.
And the enormity of the problems that are there, which I don't want to get into.
Sure.
The human rights violations they've been confirmed by numerous organizations that don't have so much of an axe to grind, so much so as they just investigate and report with as much pure facts without as much opinion as they can. And so, in that regard, we can look at it and say, all right, well, these are real concerns. They joined. They've now put money into Capcom, Nexon, as well as Activision Blizzard. That's being bought out, though, so they're actually getting a really good return on that investment. Take-Two Interactive and EA. So that's the people that this fund has been investing in, and so now we have more of this. I don't know if we're going to see any interference on the behalf of these companies. This fund company.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to call it. It's managed by somebody, so you would think you would call it a company, right?
Sure.
But because somebody somewhere is making calls. Now, do they then call up these people and say, hey, you better remove this thing, we find it offensive, can you take that out? I really don't like mustard on my hot dog, you better remove that.
Well, I'd be okay with that. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know, right? Me too. But yeah, that's the thing. Like that's what's been going on. That's what this story represents, is that there's more big control in these companies, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not. So it's just a hey, heads up. If you're a fan of Capcom, if you're a fan of Nexon, be prepared to see, this foreign money involved in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least it's out there. At least it's public information. At least there's a generalized want for these companies to just make good products. But whether or not there's an ideological push into this, we don't know yet. And it's something to just be reminiscent, not reminiscent, just to be aware of. Just to be mindful of. It's that's what's going on here. So
yeah.
But again, this actually doubles down into that thing where the rest of the financial world has now caught on that video games are here to stay, that video games are now a powerful medium to have things happen and to do things. So we're going to see a financial boom into big corporate video game companies. Mm-hmm. And this will probably herald a partial collapse, because whenever you put people in charge of art that don't know how to make art, it's the same thing you get whenever this has been tried before. You always get a crash afterwards. And a handful of the companies who say, look, we don't want to control your art. Just make the art that you want to make. We're just going to invest it, and we're going to embrace the concept of, baseline freedom to create art that you want, and as a whole, the few companies that manage to figure that out before the collapse hits them will actually insulate themselves from total disaster, because they'll be interested in getting people in who know how to make good art, who do a good job with it, and then to offer that unabated without loopholes and crutches and little tricks and other stuff through whether it's microtransactions or NFTs or whatever. It's the people who manage to do that will insulate themselves from the coming collapse.
It's important to be vigilant, especially when it comes to the religious fundamentalism and just other terrible things about the Saudis. I like to think that it's more like that last thing you said, where they're just trying to invest just so that they can grow the GDP or just the value of their companies over there in Saudi Arabia. But
it's mostly about them trying to outsource, because right now their entire income is based entirely off of oil.
Right. Yeah.
And recently there was a crash in that market that almost destroyed their nation. Not literally destroyed, but put immense pressure on them. Mm-hmm. And so I think they've realized that they need to diversify their income. That I actually watched an update on a agricultural project that they've been working on, that they've funneled a whole bunch of money into recently, because it had been failing before, but now they realize with this whole global shutdown thing that it doesn't take much for their food sources to just stop coming in, and they imported 85% of their food like a decade ago. Mm-hmm. So imagine if you can't get food for, I don't know, let's say a month, your food sources and your water intake, as far as what you can ship into the country, is completely locked down. Well, in an instance where 90% of your food and your water is brought into the country, you will now have a reduction of population by about 90%. So congratulations, that was super smart of you. But I think, again, it's the realization that, oh crap, so they've doubled down on investing in other things. And again, with ABK's being bought out by Microsoft, that actually really pumped that's pumping a lot of money back into this fund that they had lost, because I don't know if you know, but EA and Take-Two haven't been doing so well.
Yeah. I have a hard time believing that the Saudis' influence will affect the content of games like, what the hell does Capcom own? Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, and you said Take-Two, games like GTA. Of course, like I said, it's just always good to be in the know. It's good to make sure to push back on that sort of corporate influence if it comes up. I don't think that's going to happen, but it doesn't hurt to be in the know. All right. Spent a lot of time on those first 3 stories. Let's sort of rifle through these last few.
Well, Troy Baker's a quick one.
Yeah, exactly.
He got pie on his face, and then he said, "Okay, I'm not going to do this now."
Yeah, which is, kudos to him. Not a lot of people, even in the games industry, are willing to do that. But yeah, just in case you guys forgot, a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, we talked about Troy Baker trying to get into the non-fungible token market. Apparently, there's this company called Voice First NFTs that literally made NFTs out of voice recordings. People weren't happy about this, especially with somebody like Troy Baker, who is as ubiquitous in the games industry as he is. And because of the outcry, he took to Twitter and said he apologized. In particular, for a tweet that he made saying that the criticism that people were giving him were just purely based in hate and not in any sort of reason. And yeah, good for him. I'm sure that, Syb's feelings toward him haven't changed, neither are mine. I don't know if there's really anything else to say about that. It's just a nice development.
Nope. And then we've got We've got another short one for you. GTA 6 is being developed.
No.
That is all.
You don't say.
that they came out with a tweet that said, "Hey guys, we're working on GTA 6."
Well, they didn't. Yeah,
that's all.
They said the next installment. It may or may not be GTA 6, just to placate all the comment trolls. But it's basically GTA 6. People all over the internet were taking this announcement like it's such huge information. I guess it's just because of how predominant Grand Theft Auto as a franchise is in the public consciousness. But yeah, of course they're making GTA 6. It's just a matter of what years are going to come out. Likely 2024 or 2025.
Right. Well, there was nothing. There wasn't a game plan. There wasn't an overarching, direction on it. There was no timeline. There was no plot line. There was no trailer. There was no teaser. There was nothing. It was just, hey guys, we're also working on GTA 6 or the next GTA, which will most likely be GTA 6.
We can either confirm or deny.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, that's literally what they said.
I think it would have had a better impact if the last announcement on the Game Awards from Jeff Keighley was he came out and he's like, "Oh, also, they're working on." The next GTA. Mm-hmm. Good night, everybody, and then just ended it like that. And then the Twitter, the official statement comes out of the company that says, is this true? And then they just respond with yes. Period. It's that would have been a funner and more interesting way to announce this, other than, hey guys, we're working on it. Good night, everybody. It's okay.
This does nothing to assuage my fears about GTA 6, especially because of the way Rockstar has been going, and especially because the guy who was sort of the mastermind behind all the good GTA games, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne 3, Bully, Dan Houser, has now left the company. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll see some good stuff in the next couple of years. But yeah, I'm still worried. Yeah. And then what was the last thing? Oh yeah, Dying Light 2.
Dying Light 2 is out.
Weird things.
This is so weird. So everybody, so a bunch of people have been playing it on our Discord. There's some bugs, some ways that they do things that are slightly annoying. There's some, one of the guys was complaining about couldn't find out how to properly switch his arrows. It took him a grand total of 4 minutes to figure out how to without Googling it. Yeah. But this isn't I've heard nothing particularly bad about this. I've heard that it's a great RPG. It's very well rounded. Oh yeah, and it has multiplayer day one. You can just get in and play with other people. Imagine that. Imagine if some other big Polish company that was working on a big RPG that they then later changed to an action game that just had it so you just play with your friends. Just imagine the ability to just be like, hey, do you want to play this game together? Well, sure, Bob, I want to play this game together. And then you just do it. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. Imagine that. Wow, that's so fascinating. So yeah, there's some issues with it as far as again, apparently pretty minor stuff. As far as I've heard, I don't play the game because it's first person, and it makes me seasick, nauseous, because it's not just that it's first person. It's first person that you also do parkour in, and you're just running around, and your camera's flipping and moving, and again, no shame on these guys. These guys have obviously done an amazing job. I 100% agree with the baseline concept of creating a good narrative and a story and interesting gameplay. I wish it was third person. I wish it had a character creator. I wish I could make my own adventure in the game, like I do in Skyrim. But it's not Skyrim, and I'm not saying that it should be. I'm just sad that I have an inability to play the game. I've been listening to other people play it. I've been checking out some of their footage every once in a while. The couple guys stream it in our Discord, and again, I just check it out from time to time, and my general impression is that the game is really good. They really did a good job in creating a decent world. There's some voice lines that aren't great, but it's also not a multi-billion-dollar company, so I can accept that they had to scrimp on some of the funding for that, and I don't think that's the end of the world. It's only really an issue with a handful of secondary, or not even secondary characters, like third-rate characters, just some stuff here and there. And again, it's you're only picking on that if you're hyper nitpicky, which I don't think most people are. So I don't think it deserves to be. I don't think that they deserve to be right through the coals because of that. And then what else? Like, how's the experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think the game is a bad game.
Yeah.
I think by everything that I've seen, it appears to be a very good game that's well made. So
all the reviews I've seen seem to suggest it's generally, like, all the reviews tend to be generally favorable. The consistent thing that I see is that the gameplay is pretty damn solid, which is obviously most important. But in terms of other things like graphics, bugs, character models, and their voices, people's mileage with those things tends to vary. Some people don't mind it, a lot of other people do, and that seems to be the main factor regarding whether or not people give this game anywhere between a 6.5 to an 8. I tend to be one of those people where, look, as long as the most important elements are good, graphics, gameplay, can I play this for a decent amount of time and not get bored? If those things are there, which they appear to be with Dying Light 2, then I'll be fine. And unfortunately, I won't be able to play it. I just have so many other things going on. I'd especially like to play it because it's co-op, and I'd love to play with my girlfriend, but yeah, I just won't have the time. But yeah, it's good. It's a good sign for the rest of the month of February, which is sort of like the month to be a gamer this year. And hopefully that trend continues with Horizon, Total War, and of course Elden Ring. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Si?
Well, I mean, we brought up a lot today. Just we've got a couple of games. If you're interested, check us out this week. We'll probably be streaming Lost Ark at some point.
Oh yeah, that too.
Me and Moon will be giving it a go. And if you say, why Lost Ark? My simple response to this is that in the world of MMOs, almost all of them come out, they get a big audience, and then over the course of the next month to a year, it drops 90% of its player base.
Yeah.
This isn't the case for Lost Ark in the Japanese, Korean, and Russian markets. It has come out, it has released to a big audience, has taken a small dip, but then has proceeded to climb. And in some of those markets, they're now at 3 or 4 times the amount of player bases when the game first released. The amount of games that do that are next to nothing. I'm not hopeful because this is being run by Amazon, and their last MMO that they released was a 90% drop off in players, and after just a few months, just after 5 months, I think it's been, they have royally screwed up that game. I anticipate that they're royally going to screw up this game, but hey, it's free to play, guys. Yeah. if it's got bad microtransactions, if it's really like, you just can't progress without buying the super special package. I did do the pre-order for $13, so there's my investment into the game, and that's just so that I can get in on the head start. That is literally all. And I would encourage you, if you're on the fence about it, do not do any pre-orders. Just wait till the game comes out, free to play, download it for free, try it for an hour, see if you like it. If you don't, then it's an hour of your gaming time gone. That's about it. So, but hey, it's interesting. It's something that I'm going to check on and see what see what comes of it. So
yeah, given the way you've been hyping up that particular game, I got to see more about it. That's literally what you just said. There is all I know.
There's a mini game where you play as a plant sprite running in a 2-dimensional, like on a 2D platformer.
Nice.
Trying to avoid giant birds, parrots to be precise. So
they have a Mario mini game in Lost Ark.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So yeah, I want to check it out because like something is going on with this clearly. So yeah, I'm interested to see how and where this kind of comes and goes to. So
well, just hearing about that makes it seem like they're trying to go beyond the typical MMO formula and trying to have some style, which is good. So yeah, I'll make sure to check out the stream when you guys go live with that. As for myself, I gotta get back to finishing this 40-minute long video that I'm doing on Peace Walker, and then of course, as for new games coming out, I will obviously be playing Elden Ring. At the end of the month. That's probably the only game that I'll have time to play, and we'll do coverage of that here. But until those games come out, and until we do the next story, the next podcast episode, we're gonna have to wrap things up here. So, do you want to just tell people about the main channel quickly?
Yeah, check out the main channel. Ash is gonna have if you're liking Dying Light, Ash is gonna have a bunch of videos. Guides, walkthroughs on that coming out relatively soon. He's been enjoying it. You're going to be playing it a little bit. So yeah, you guys are going to be able to chat on it. We got some other good projects in the go. So yeah, follow us here on Twitter, on Rumble, on a number of other places that we have a setup on. Just check us out and give us a follow.
Links to all that and my personal channel, the Max Derrat channel, will be in the description box of this video. Please check that out and make sure to like this video and comment on it, because when you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that not only this video is worth watching, but all the other videos on the Triple S Podcast channel are worth watching. We'd like to continue to bring you guys this podcast, a podcast that doesn't, go for flashiness. It just gets to just honest delivery of the news and honest analysis, which even with the best podcasts out there, you never really get the purest form of that. So yeah, thanks for your support, guys. And until we do this again next week, just want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.